So Father's Day is Sunday. Right behind that, 4th of July. We're just a couple weeks away, which means this is peak grilling season. And as you're getting the grill ready, you want to make sure you have the best possible steaks, burgers, chicken, sausage. You want to be ready with food that will impress and delight your friends, family, colleagues, interested passersby. Happy to meet you. Happy to meet letteru.com is your hookup. They, at 4 o'clock in the morning, long before most of us are awake or before some of us actually go to bed for the night, at 4 o'clock in the morning, they are hand cutting meat. And then they're vacuum packing it and shipping it out same day. This is as fresh as it gets. It goes right to your house. I've had listeners use Happy to Meet You before, and they all agree. It is better than anything they'd ever find at a grocery store. And now, if you use my promo code, JVO, you get 10% off your order, which is awesome. And it's that right there, that's worth it. I need to read off this sheet of paper because there's so much that is included with the 10% off. You also get 3 unique steakhouse seasoning blends for whatever kind of meat you're going to throw on your grill. Also, the official Happy to Meet You Carnivore Companion Cooking Guide. It's like a cookbook you get thrown in with your order, with the 3 seasoning packs, with your 10% off. Happy to Meet You, letter U, .com. You've seen them on QVC. I mean, come on, you've seen them on QVC. Bring home that taste, that spectacular taste, the kind that you'd have to go to a fancy restaurant, a Chicago steakhouse to get. You can have it delivered to your home. Make sure that your grilling season is on point. HappyToMeetYou.com. JVO is the promo code to take 10% off and get all that other stuff. And in supporting Happy to Meet You, you're going to make your grill season awesome. And you're going to support the people who support Car Con Carne. Thank you.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Look at this. You'd never guess we're in Skokie. Look how pretty that is.
Never think it.
I feel like it looks like we're on like a North Shore golf course here. But no, we're right off the Swift tracks in Skokie on Main Street at Sketchbook Brewing Company. I'm James Van Alstyne, joined by members of Boom Hank. To my right, it is Stump. To my left, it is Chris. I think the last time I interviewed you was probably 28 years ago. So what's new? It really has been like 28 years, hasn't it?
It probably has been. Well, you know, it's really interesting, the whole Boom Hank lifespan. We never broke up. It was just careers, wives, children.
Life getting in the way.
Yeah, kind of took over, and we tried getting together as much as we could and messing around. We did some punk cover bands back in the day and would play a friend's hot dog stand and do that for the summers, and you know, it's just fun, which was ultimately what Boom Hank was all about. You know, in the late 80s, we weren't thinking about getting signed by any major labels or anything. You know, it was like maybe Ken and Rick at Pravda will do something for us. But
okay, I want to talk about those early days too, because I don't even think I know much about the early days of Boom Hank. It's worth mentioning that Boom Hank is kicking off Pravda Fest, which is happening at the end of the month. We're at Sketchbook Brewing Company in Skokie, Illinois. We're in easily the most lovely corner of Sketchbook Brewing Company. The wind's blowing. It is
on a very hot day. It's still very comfortable here.
And I also want to mention that this is the furthest north I've ever been on Cicero Avenue. We're close to Cicero. I grew up on 103rd and Cicero, so it's quite a trek up here.
You'll notice he said 103rd. Yes. Like that's what Southsiders do. That's how you say it.
Exactly.
All right, so Boom Hank kicking off Pravda Fest. It is Boom Hank, Hushdrops, Steve Dawson, and the Josh Caterer Trio. That's happening on Friday, June 24th. Saturday, June 25th, Handcuffs, Diplomats of Solid Sound, The Service, and the Slugs. The 24th and 25th of June. Doors at 6, shows at 7. Sketchbook Brewing, 4901 Main Street, Skokie, Illinois. If you hit the yellow line tracks, you're pretty much there. All right, so Boom Hank, you first came into my orbit. I was a rookie radio disc jockey. I was hosting the local music show on Q101 back in the day. I got my copy of Nuisance on Pravda Records. Pravda Fest happening end of the month. I got my copy of Nuisance, and it spoke to me. It really was one of those records that was in line in step with the time. It seemed like it hit all the right notes, literally, figuratively. But take me, you hinted toward the late 80s. I don't think I know the genesis, the origin story, the Boom Hank getting bit by a radioactive spider part of the story.
Pretty typical storyline, really. You know, it's like a bunch of us were into the underground music scene on the South Side, particularly not very popular. And so we just decided to kind of jump into the city scene and take off. Did some EPs here and there. Ken and Rick, again, when they had Pravda Records, the actual record store, were always very supportive and would take on the cassettes and sell them. But we just sort of chugged along, didn't really have any high aspirations, and just kept playing the scene. And again, Ken and Rick were super supportive, as well as the Slugs. We sort of forced our friendship on the Slugs, and they were super supportive. And we just started to like grow our orbit, and it was a slow growth for sure. But we just kept hacking away, and then when we decided we thought we were pretty good and thought we could do a full-length record that would be relatively solid and fluid, we approached Ken about releasing it for us, and he said yeah. So it was a slow churn for sure, but like I said, we weren't really looking to do anything special. We were just having fun, and the challenge of writing a good rock song was kind of what was the carrot.
1995, Ken Pravda puts out Nuisance. Now, as we'll recall, as historians will point out, that was this interesting, fascinating moment in Chicago music where I'm sure many of your contemporaries, people who you played gigs with, people all around town were aspiring to, and in many cases succeeding in getting record label deals. We saw it happen time and again. The fascinating thing, I mentioned Nuisance, that album to me sounded as good, if not better, than a lot of that stuff. Were you trying to play that game? Were you thinking that Pravda would be a stepping stone to, at the time, a Columbia or a Interscope or whatever?
I think at the back of our heads we would hope. I mean, the reality is post-Nirvana, it was like, oh, wow, this scene that we're a part of has actually been validated in terms of the public. So I think in the back of our heads we thought, well, maybe we do have something. So yeah, we would have hoped that it could have gone someplace. We weren't really super proactive about working those angles too much. I don't know.
And I think the other thing I'll add to that is that we were, four friends who grew up, back in the 90s that played together, starting in a cover band that turned into an all original band. And we weren't always like looking at like long-term success of what we can do. We just like being around each other and hanging out, and
you were in the moment,
making music.
It was existential.
Exactly.
Live for today.
Yeah.
Well, and that first album, or the album Nuisance, produced by Brad Wood, whose fingerprints were on a lot of stuff back then. I still, if you listen to some of the playlists on my phone, I still have those songs on there. I still have Kindling. I still have Do You Feel Strange? Downpour. Every time it rains, I think of Downpour.
Well, that's good because we're playing all those songs on the 24th.
You kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing, I just, in my head, I just kind of assumed Boom Hank was done. Like this was kind of a nostalgia thing, coming back to play the Pravda Fest. And
yeah, no, the reality is we had started getting back together, working on original stuff, and we've sort of been doing that over the course of years. But we had gotten back together and we're like, okay, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to work on new stuff. We're going to put out 2 or 3 songs. We'll record maybe 4 or 5, see what works out, put it out, start playing out. Certainly not touring like we used to. It's obviously it has to be a different business model than when we were in our 20s. But and then Ken calls us up, and I'm thinking, I don't want to do that. Specifically because we we're focused on these new songs. And I posed the question to the rest of the band, and without a hesitation, the three other guys were like, hell yeah. Which is really interesting, because relearning all those songs from Nuisance, which most of those songs we haven't touched in 25 years.
Is it like the cliche of getting back on a bicycle? No.
Our songs are harder to learn than other cover songs.
Yeah.
You know,
We do a lot of weird, what we call them boom hankify stuff. We have these little twists and turns, and I have a penchant for doing weird triads and trying to figure out those things. We assumed, muscle memory will kick in at some point, and it's kind of strange how hard it was to figure out our stuff.
Suddenly it became work.
It really did.
yeah.
And we were panicking. Well, 3 months ago, we were like, holy shit, this is not going to be easy.
So now that you're 3 months past that, and you're in your groove, you're about to play here, you're about to kick off Pravda Fest in 2 weeks. How does it feel to be kind of in sync with one another?
It's I'm not much of a nostalgic individual, but it's been a lot of fun. And we've even joked about, wow, whoever wrote these songs, they were pretty good.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that our second record was so different than Nuisance. I think if you heard it,
full
should
length,
Ghostfly.
right.
Oh yeah, well you kind of went from being like replacements adjacent to Velvet Underground adjacent. You took a turn.
A lot of that had to do, we toured so much between 94 and 96 that it just seemed like it seemed like everyone sounded relatively the same. It was...
You're not wrong.
It was very much, two guitars, bass, drum, loud, quiet, loud, and we're like, okay, well, let's try and figure out what to do different and unique and try and find more of our voice or take a radical left turn. And then we were working with Brian Deck on that next record, and we spent a lot of time, and, God bless him, he hung in there with us. And we maybe overreached a little bit with the sonic playfulness, but we should have muted some things when we were mixing. But it was just so much fun working on that record, and then touring on that.
And the songs we're working on now make sense that they would have been the songs written after Nuisance. So it's almost like we're taking.
It feels like they're kind of in between the two at this point. Yeah.
Is it kind of like rebooting Halloween, the John Carpenter franchise, where the latest movies pick up after the first movie and everything else was invalidated?
I would say exactly. We're not dead yet.
You're unkillable. Are you kidding?
You would think we were dead.
All right. So that all said, you're rehearsing. You're ready to play Pravda Fest. Writing new music?
Yeah. Actually, I was just telling Ken, our bass player Clark tracked out all the new songs that we've been working on, bits and pieces, and he's like, basically we have a 2-record release coming if we actually do all this. Of course, it's not going to happen, but
it'd be a ballsy move for sure.
Ken's already warned us not to do that.
Hi, remember us? Here's our double album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be ballsy, though.
It would be. I mean, make a statement.
Yeah.
People would almost have to buy and or listen to it just because of the sheer audacity of it. Without even
Duly noted.
Yes.
Okay, then we're going to do it, James.
Yes. See, when I sat down, I knew we've had this on the books for a little bit. When I was coming out here, I just thought we'd be talking about the old days. It didn't even occur to me that we'd be talking about Boom Hank in the future, which I find very exciting. This is a shocking plot twist to this interview for me.
Well, like I said, we've been together, like Chris said, we're all guys that grew up in the neighborhood, and we're friends in that regard. And to us, it's like getting together and playing music. It's kind of like a card night, It's like, let's get together.
Clark and I, the bass player, we started in a band freshman year in high school. So it's been like, different bands, and we just kind of hung together. He's my wingman.
Well, I hate to take things in a depressing or sad turn, but let's talk about Joe.
Yeah, so Joe was definitely sort of a spark plug for the band. He was one of the original guitarists, and he would constantly come up with nutty ideas, like doing the punk covers and playing at the hot dog stand. And when we were, one of those moments when we were working on new material, he was saying, yeah, I don't feel very well, and it turned out that he ended up with stomach cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they removed his stomach. He was going through treatment, doing really well. Some scans were a little problematic, so they were doing some additional treatments. And right as we were getting into COVID, he passed away, and obviously really kind of threw us for a loop too.
That's really hard.
Yeah, and from what we understand, it had nothing to do with COVID. It was all cancer related.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that's a horrible, insidious illness.
Yeah, and to have your stomach removed was one of those things. It's like, can you do that? And
right.
And he was doing well up until that new treatment that they were giving him, and it just sort of threw him for a loop unexpectedly when his wife Sharon called us up and said, "Hey, just want to let you know Joe passed." We were really blown away because I literally talked to him like 2 days before, and it was fine.
Me too. We were in.
It was really strange. It was like, wait, what? So anyhow, because this is the first real Boom Hank show that we're doing versus the cover band stuff that we're doing, in honor of him, we're going to take all the proceeds that we're going to get and donate to Give a Shirt. And for those who don't know about Give a Shirt, started by Scott Marvel, and it helps the Streetwise folks. They've been around for 6 years, really super beneficial during the COVID, the initial COVID lockdown, because obviously there was nobody on the streets, but they've garnered over $260,000 for them over the 6 years. And Joe was such a proponent for people who are down and out, and we thought he would really love to give something to them. Even if he was playing with us, he'd probably want to do something like that. So we thought, we talked to Sharon, his wife, and she's like, that would be amazing. So that's what we're going to do in his honor, in his memory.
That's a great way to honor his memory. And the Give a Shirt, I mean, the designs, I mean, for people who are interested in supporting what they do, I mean, John Langford has contributed designs, and I think Tweety has as well. I mean, just like fantastic, really cool collectible type stuff. And like you said, I mean, it goes to support a community that really could use a boost.
Absolutely. So we're really happy that Scott Marvel agreed to taking on the challenge, if it is a challenge. But he was. I thought there might be some weirdness, like, hey, instead of directly putting the money towards Streetwise, we just thought it would be great to provide whatever little focus we could on Give a Shirt, and he was really great about making that available for us.
I love that. And again, what a thoughtful way.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like you said, you all came up together. Like, you're supposed to be invincible. You're supposed to, to ride off into the sunset.
And if
together.
you knew Joe, you would think he was the most invincible. It's like the stories growing up with him were just like, how did you get into and out of that?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
All right, so we're in Skokie. We're at Sketchbook Brewing Company. This is ground zero for what will be Pravda Fest at the end of June. I mean, we're out here in the middle of June. It is sunny. It is clear skies. Welcome to summer in the Midwest. This is the time.
As of last night, right?
Yeah, right. But, I mean, this is the time to be outside, listen to live music, enjoy a cold Pravda 38.
It's almost gone.
Which is on
Yeah.
tap.
Delicious beer, by the way.
I've loved Sketchbook.
So delicious.
But this is like, it sounds trite, but it's a really amazing, great beer.
And it's a great summer beer.
Yeah.
I would say
For a
it's a
hot day.
beer befitting of the Pravda legacy.
I will go with that.
So
Agreed.
again, Pravda Fest. It is Boom Hank starting the whole damn thing. Boom Hank, Hushdrops, Steve Dawson, Josh Caterer Trio. Saturday, the Handcuffs, Diplomats of Solid Sound. There are like 30 members. I don't know if we have room for Diplomats of Solid Sound at Pravda Fest.
Actually, we might need a second stage for them.
Yeah,
Not we, they.
Yeah, we might need to knock
second
down a
stage.
wall or two just to accommodate all the members. The Service is back in service, and the Slugs back in service as well. What a
Pretty exciting.
lineup. It is the Pravda Fest, celebrating 38 years of Pravda Records, a venerable independent music institution. You guys, Boom Hank.
Hey, James, before we go, I got a special gift for you, because we've listened to your podcast for a while now, and we've realized that we don't get enough gifts on the podcast, so There's a limited edition Boom Hank cassette from 1989.
Shut up.
No, still shrink wrapped.
I want one.
I love it.
I found 4. I'm the resident sort of Boom Hank archivist slash
Oh, I love this.
historian. So I dug that up for you.
I'm going to play this. It's funny especially heading into and during lockdown. I have re-embraced physical media like I hadn't in decades.
Same here.
I wired up a cassette deck for the first time since the 20th century. So I mean, I'm going to. I mean, I hate to crack open a collector's item and bust open the shrink wrap, but I'm going to play this when I get home.
Awesome.
Because I can now.
Good for you.
There's something to be said for physical media.
You know, the tactile thing is really what's missing for me. You know, obviously, kids growing up nowadays, they're not really used to the idea of CDs, let alone LPs. But I really love the LP, and I've been buying LPs like crazy through
It's a
the
sickness.
pandemic.
It's gotten pretty bad for me.
It's you should come over to my house. It's pretty sick.
You should come over to my house. We should hang out.
It's a date.
Stump Mahoney. All right. Well, this is exciting. I've got a cassette.
Cool.
This is awesome. All right. Boom Hank at Sketchbook. Pravda Fest coming soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Happy to meet you for sponsoring Car Con Carne this week. Use my promo code JVO for 10% off.